Hey guys, Welsknight here, and welcome back to another episode of Satisfactory. Hope you guys are having an awesome day. I'm having a fantastic day. Today we are getting started on our main base, and I'm super excited for this. So this is going to be sort of our central hub for the rest of the world, and we're going to put it kind of right over here. If we go up this ladder, you can see in the background we've got this really nice waterfall, which I think is absolutely gorgeous. So we'll kind of have that as a backdrop. And then we're going to have a tower that extends up here and intersects with the skyway. And then some other stuff too, obviously. But we'll have this big tower. It goes up, it intersects with the skyway, and you'll be able to sort of walk out a door and essentially just be on the skyway. So that'll be pretty cool. This ramp is going to eventually go away, and it'll just be a straight path that goes out that way. We're going to build in a brutalist style. Brutalist architecture was very popular, I believe, in the 70s, and it's an architectural style that is essentially known for being sort of large and imposing and very kind of bold. And one of the key features is that it's made up of very simple building materials, with concrete being the most prevalent one, and then also glass and stuff like that too. But that means that Satisfactory lends itself very well to this style because it's a lot of hard, straight lines and a lot of materials that are in Satisfactory, like concrete. So I think it's going to be really good. And then, we don't really need to make this like ridiculously big, because we're going to have there's not really going to be that much here. I mean, this is basically going to be a storage room to store all of our stuff. And then sort of a central hub for like transportation, trains, things like that, and then the space elevator, and that's pretty much it. Because what I want to do is have sort of satellite factories out in the world producing all the various stuff. So we don't need a ton of room here for a bunch of like machines and things like that. We can pretty much just make this hub. So I think it's going to be really good. And because we don't need tons of space for machines, we don't need to do quite as much planning as we would otherwise do. We just need to make sure that we leave adequate space for the transportation network stuff we want, and then our storage room. So I think it's going to be really good. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'll start putting down some framework and stuff like that, and we'll see what I come up with. Okay, I've been working on this now for a couple of hours, and I'm really liking how it is turning out. So this is kind of the general style we're going for. Definitely brutalist. And brutalist is kind of an interesting style because it's very broad. There are some examples of brutalism that I think look really good, and then there are some that are just really hideous because they're super busy and they have a lot going on, and they're just kind of an affront to your eyeballs. But this is much more in line what I think of and what I like when it comes to brutalism. Lots of horizontal and vertical hard lines and sort of semi-repeating patterns, which I think is pretty cool. So if we come up here, we can get a little bit of a closer look. You can see we've got some depth going on in the front, big windows, lots of horizontal concrete lines as well. And then if we pop in here, this I think is where we're going to put our train station. So the trains will come in one side and exit out the other side, or maybe we'll do it the other way around, I don't know. But either way, they'll come in one side and exit out the other. And then we'll bring the items up into the ceiling, the items that the trains unload. Which I think will be cool. So let's go up this ladder. This is a temporary ladder. This will be gone probably once I actually finish the build, but for now I need a way to get up on the roof. And if we come up here, we've got this tower. This is the tower that's going to intersect with the skyway, and I think I want to take these pillars and actually bring them out to be in line with these pillars over here. So we'll have 3 pillars on each side, on the right and the left, that are in line. This is a little harder to do, you might think, because it's a little tricky. We also need something on the left over here to balance it out. But you'll see what I mean. Yeah, so if we look at this, you can see we got a little bit of clipping going on. That's because these foundations that I'm using for the pillars are actually offset by half a foundation length. so that we can create depth. And I'll show you how to do this. Let me just delete this pillar here. There we go, since I got to move these pillars anyway. So what you do, normally foundations can only snap directly on top of other foundations, as you can see here. But there's a workaround. What you can actually do is take the foundations, which I'm using to make the pillars here. Let me figure out where I gotta put it. Let's see, I need it to be in line with that one over here. So if we put this down like right, let's see, right here, I think should be good. So you put that down, you put down a foundation, then you go into architecture and you grab one of these crossings, one of these catwalks. And these are only half a foundation length. So they give you a snap point that you can use to offset other pillars by snapping it to the catwalk. You can see this foundation that we just put down is halfway, it's halfway on either side of the wall. So it creates, an offset foundation, which then helps you create depth, which is pretty cool. Also, this actually needs to come out a little bit further. So let's just delete this, and we should be able to snap it right there instead. There we go. And then we can just take this wall and essentially clip it in to the foundation, and that gives us this nice depth. Everything looks pretty good. The only time it looks bad is if you're standing directly on top of one of these foundations that's being clipped into another one, and then you get that weird kind of graphical glitch from the clipping. But for the most part, that's not super noticeable, especially not when you're like down on the ground, and I think it's well worth it. So let's go ahead and bring this up all the way. There we go. Got it. Okay. So yeah, let's pop down here so we can get a better view. I'm gonna take some damage, but that's fine. That hurt more than I thought. Let me heal up. There we go. Okay, so yeah, let's put a little bit of distance between ourselves and this build so that we can get sort of a better view. There we go. So yeah, we need to take this pillar, or this tower. Oh, autosave. There we go. We gotta take that tower and sort of balance it out on the left here and put something over on this side, because it's not gonna look good if you have this big giant tower sticking up into the side on the right and then nothing on the left. Like, that won't look good at all. So we gotta create something here. I'm thinking maybe something with diagonals. I think that could look pretty cool. And maybe bringing it up to like about here or so could be pretty good. So yeah, I think it's going to look really good once it's done, but I got to do more work on it. So, let me get to it. Okay, so it's coming along. It's looking pretty good. You can see we've got sort of this lower section that is actually kind of inspired by like a Mandalorian helmet from Star Wars, which I think is pretty cool. And then on top of it, I've put another tower sort of more in line with the style of the base section that we created earlier. And then over here is the tower that intersects with the Skyway with a little bit of a bridge kind of going between the two. Which I think is pretty cool. Also, I made the hover pack, so I can fly now, as long as I am close to a power pole, which makes it a lot easier to build vertically, because I can, as long as you're within range of one of these power poles, you don't like move. You can just float in the air, sort of like having like creative flight in Minecraft, which is super useful. But you do have to be a little bit closer to the power poles than I would like. I kind of wish the range was about twice what it actually is. I'm going to have to run power sort of throughout this entire base. But that's fine. It's still pretty useful. But yeah, it's coming along really well. I'm liking it a lot. So next step is, once we get up here, let me just kind of... There we go. We need to redirect what is here from the Skyway. You can see we got these ramps coming down, or these conveyor belts coming down, and then this ramp that's kind of going straight down there. And that's going to make it really hard to sort of work out this tower, because it's really kind of hurting your perspective, and it's very much in the way. So I got to redirect all of this. and I need to redirect the power as well. I'm pretty sure I do have a power line that runs kind of out through here somewhere, but like, just to be safe, I'd rather redirect the power that's up here and probably redirect it like into the main building is kind of what I'm thinking, just to make sure that like we don't lose power. But yeah, you gotta basically get rid of all these conveyor belts and get rid of the ramp that goes down. And then I can work out the main section over here, like this tower, and the rest of the skyway. So I think that'll be really good. As for the interiors of these buildings, there's really nothing going on. It's just empty space at the moment, but we'll fill that up in the future. So that'll be perfectly fine. And you can see where we've really got this sort of pattern figured out with the horizontal lines and the vertical pillars. That style I think fits really well. It's a slight variation on what we did because the windows are a little bit different, but it's very similar. And then down here I did some diagonal lines using ramps, which I think is pretty cool, and gives us, you know, kind of these nice things. I also painted some concrete walls here a darker color because I really wanted these sort of outline blocks, these concrete pillars and lines and stuff to pop out a little bit more. So I think we're going to do that throughout the rest of the base as well. All right, I think I have it pretty much finished here, and I think it looks great. I'm super happy with how this has turned out. This is the first thing I think in Satisfactory that I've built that I'm like really happy with. It's good. I mean, at this point, we've got our train station figured out. We've got a lot of the towers and stuff like that worked out. We've got our tower that intersects with the skyway worked out. I think basically everything is done at this point. All I really need to do is actually like get the storage room in place and run all the items and stuff like that in there. So I think that will be good. We've got just a lot. It's kind of weird because it's a pretty large build, but I don't actually know exactly where I'm going to put the storage room because neither of the towers are big enough. Unless I want to have my storage room on multiple floors, which I really don't want to do. We could maybe put the storage in here. Like, this might be enough space for all the storage containers, but the thing is we also need to have room for all the belt work to make sure that stuff gets routed automatically to the right place. Like, this might be big enough if I split this up into, like, say, maybe 2 floors, but I don't know. We'll have to see. So I might have to do an addition, either out the back or maybe over on this side, somewhere over here that's more of a designated storage room. I don't know. Like, there's probably enough space in the area where I want to put the trains, but like I already have a plan for that. So if we come up here, you can see I made a bit of a walkway, got the walkway design all figured out, and I think it looks pretty good. And then we've got our actual sort of intersection with the skyway. Let me see if I can get rid of this annoying present that's just sitting here in the floor. There we go. So yeah, we've got some like skylights up here, which I think look good. And then we've got kind of an arch design for the gates, which I think would be good. This is where the trains will ultimately be running through as the skyway, you know, because the trains are going to go on the skyway. That's how they're going to sort of make their way around the world. It's going to be sort of our central highway. And then over here, I put some temporary storage containers just to reroute those belts, carrying all those items just in case we needed them while I was building. Those are going to go away, though, and I'm going to reroute them somewhere else into the storage room once I figure out the actual storage room. Also, I haven't actually looked at it from behind. Let me look at this base from back over here. I haven't seen it from this angle. I imagine it will still look pretty good, but, like, let's be sure. Autosave. There we go. Let's see. Okay, so let's just sort of pop down here. There we go. And how does it look from, say, like, right about here? Oh, yeah. Oh, I love the way that looks. That turned out so well. Like, especially here with the light hitting it a little bit better, you can really see sort of the little smaller details with the depth and stuff like that. I think this turned out super well. I love it. Satisfactory lends itself so well to brutalist architecture just because of like the building materials and the building system in this game. Like, I think it works. It's just a match made in heaven. So next up, I got to figure out the storage room and stuff like that, but yeah, this is great. I'm loving it. Well, my friends, after many more hours, I think I finally have the storage room all figured out and set up. So I decided to put it actually in like the upper levels of the train station area. So it's actually like above the ceiling. I added a floor and put the storage room there. If we look at the windows here, you can see there are 3 sets of windows. And then inside, you can see there are only 2. That's because the storage room is located directly above those. So if we throw on our hover pack, we can get up here. I don't have like a proper entrance to the storage room figured out yet, but I'll get that worked out in the future. So here we have 24 storage bins, and this is mirrored on the other side as well. There's like a central hallway that goes down the middle, which you can see here. And then each side on the right and the left has 24 of these industrial storage bins. And currently I'm only using the ones over on this side. So back here we've got sort of the item sorting and logistics distribution for the stuff that we are currently producing. I think right now I've got 5 storage bins that aren't being used, and then obviously that entire other side. But everything that we have been producing up until this point in the series, with the exception of the aluminum stuff, is somewhere in here. There's a spot for it, except for the Alclad aluminum sheets and the aluminum casings. Everything else has a place in here. It's not all laid out in the most like sensible manner. Like, my brain says iron bars and iron plates should be right next to each other, but here we have like iron plates and then iron bars over here. And that's basically because of the way I had to do the logistics in the back because of some space constraints. Like, to be honest, I didn't plan this out like super well, but I did make it work, and it's fine. So we've got all of our items coming down through the ceiling. And I'll show you why that's the case in a little bit. But they're all coming down here through the ceiling and then being put onto Mark V belt lines with 3 different items per line, and then being split off using smart splitters. So we've got like these mergers here, and I had to go every other conveyor lift on a different item, or like on the same line or whatever, because of space constraints, because I couldn't put them right next to each other. They would clip into each other and not work. So here you can see we've got like those 3 mergers there on the bottom are for one of the lifts here and 2 of the lifts on that like packet of lifts on the right. But it works. It works. And then, as I said, we've got 3 items per Mark V conveyor belt line. And then they split off into their respective storage containers using smart splitters. So like, we open this up, we've got quartz crystals, and then any overflow and anything that's not quartz crystals goes forward. Then we have stators, and then industrial beams, as you can see. So that's how it works. And then any excess overflow that doesn't have a place in a storage container, or if the storage containers are full, goes up into the room above us where there are awesome sinks to get stuck in there to make tickets. So that's kind of the gist of it. And honestly, it works. As I said, space constraints kind of dictated the way that I had to lay this out, but I did make it work, and it's fine. And I do have all the infrastructure in place for the storage containers that I'm not currently using on this side. I think there are 5 of them. So all I need to do is hook them up to the outside, which I'll show you in a little bit, and then they'll be good to go. And then I need to set up essentially the same system for the other side, but right now we don't even have enough items being produced, or I should say enough different items being produced to even fill one side. So future expansion. But up here, this is the Mandalorian helmet building, and I decided to use this room as like the place where the items would be fed in, because back here I've created a couple of like item towers or item spines that take all the items we're being produced and bring them up to this level. So you can see we've got all these conveyor belts going in, and up there, that's where the stuff from like our starter base area is all being produced, and they're being brought down. And then down below, down there, you can see everything that's being produced in the desert is being brought up from down below. So the way that this works is we've got them being fed in through conveyor walls, and then they're dropping down here into this half of the storage room, like the backside. But the thing is, there are two sides to the storage room. So I need to be able to reach the far side of this building as well, so that I can get items eventually to the other side too, which is why I didn't want to just bring them in through the windows, because I wanted it to be like symmetrical. So we need to be able to reach the far side of this room, and eventually we'll punch out a hole, like a hole in the floor, and do that. You can see the windows here. It would work for this side if I brought the item towers up and just brought them through the windows, but it wouldn't work for the front side of the base to get items to that side of the storage room. So instead I'll bring them over on the right and drop them down right up against that wall. Like ideally I would prefer to have the items being brought in a different place, but like it's fine. As I said, I made it work, and it gets the job done. It's functional. So yeah, that's kind of the deal with the functional portion of the storage room. So yeah, let's talk about the aesthetics of the storage room, because I think this is, pretty good as well. So we've got 24 bins on each side, 24 of these industrial storage containers, and then they're separated by pillars, and you can see they're kind of clipping into the wall, which I think is pretty cool. Then down there will be our entrance or exit, but we'll talk about that shortly. And we have spaces for, as I said earlier, everything that's being produced right now. And the way that I did this is I put the storage container down, divided it with metal pillars, and then put a sign on it. So all you really have to do is take a storage container and just plop it down wherever you want it. And then you just take a wall piece, and this is actually a bad spot for an example. Hold on. Let's try this again. Let's put it like right there, just barely hanging over where a wall snap point would be, and then you just take the wall and do it like this, so it covers up the backside, because we want to cover up all the ugly conveyor belts and logistic stuff in the back. We don't want to see that. It's all pretty disorganized and stuff like that, so we pretty much just want to cover it up. We're using the modded Minecraft method of covering it up behind the walls and pretending it doesn't exist, and then presenting like a nice facade here. And then we divided them up with metal beams, and then painted beams, which we can, paint different colors, orange. Maybe I want to color code stuff in the future and say like all of our building stuff is going to be orange, but for now I'm just going to leave it as blue. Maybe I'll color code it in the future, but for now it's fine. And then we've got in the ceiling, we've got these ceiling lights, which I think are pretty nice. They provide some lighting and stuff. Somewhere around here, it must be down on the other end. But there is a light control unit down there. I wanted to turn down the intensity of the ceiling lights because the default setting was a bit much for my opinion. So had that turned down. And then over on this side, we've got just a crafting bench, some of these personal storage box shelves that I showed. I think this was Kibitz's design that I showed a couple episodes ago. And then up above, we've got a couple of these wall lights, which I thought were kind of clever as well. These are actually street lights. And you can see, if we just copy one of those, you can see they're kind of an awkward shape to work with. But what you can do is plop them down where you want them, and then cover up everything except for the very end of it by just essentially putting a wall and covering it up that way. So instead, we get like this nice little effect that kind of sticks out, and it's a much smaller light. You can see if we grab like the wall-mounted lights, like look how long, that's way too big. Like that would totally not work. There's just not really another good option for these. Ceiling lights, those are not only really big, but they also don't really work for this either. The floodlight towers are way too big. So that kind of leaves us with street lights, and this effect, I think, works out pretty well. Clipping is one of those things in this game where, like, You want to be careful about how you use it, because if you overuse it, or if you use it in ways where it's really noticeable, it can look really bad. But if you make use of the clipping in like sensible or creative ways, it can add a lot of like really nice little details to your build, like these lights, for example. And then it adds this kind of nice highlight to this area as well. And you could go even crazier with it. Like there's you can change the color of lights, so you can see like we could change these to red, for example. And then if we take a look at that area, now it really sort of highlights this area and brings a lot of attention to it. But I don't think that fits here. I think we want to go with the white. I think it fits much more with the general aesthetic and style of the build. So we're not going to do that for now, but probably in the future we'll have a base of some sort where we do a build of some sort that incorporates some clever lighting. As for down here, as I said, this is probably going to be where the main entrance to the storage room is going to be, but I'm going to leave it for now. I don't really want to work that out right now, because we can't put a staircase over here. Or something real simple like that. Because keep in mind, the train station, the train depot, all the trains are going to be coming out directly below here. So we can't just like put a staircase down or something like that. We got to find a different way to do this. So for now, I'm going to leave it because I think it's fine. I'll find another way. Maybe I'll put in like some hypertubes or something as a temporary solution until I can sort out like what I want the more permanent entrance to be. But yeah, like overall, I think it's pretty good. And it's really kind of set up already to do easy future expansion. So, all the stuff is pretty much in place for the most part. If we just fly back out here. There we go. We've got these item spines, and, all the logistic stuff is in place on this point. So at this point, if I produce, say I want to make motors or something like that, something I'm not producing right now, you can see we've got these empty slots, right, with these conveyor walls or whatever they're called. Is that what they're called? Yeah, conveyor walls. And then in the back, we've just got conveyor lifts. So all we really need to do is plug in the actual conveyor lifts and the conveyor belts, and they're already kind of in the right spot. Like all the ones here are being used. Autosave. There we go. All the ones here are being used, but over here, right here, you can see I've got 5 of them that are open. So, the next 5 items I make, I just basically need to run them into a conveyor belt that feeds in right here, and then they're good to go. So, kind of future-proofing, and then I just basically will copy the design, this design over onto this side for any other stuff. So yeah, that's the plan, but I think that's about all that I have time for in this episode, guys. So I'm going to call this one here. It's been a great episode. I'm honestly super happy with what we've accomplished in it, and this episode took me, like, stupid amounts of time, so it's time to wrap it up. But yeah, that's going to do it for me. Guys, if you enjoyed the video, you know what to do. Links in the description below, so check that out as well. Otherwise, my friends, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.